How did a forgotten bullet, hidden bloodstains, and a shocking deathbed confession finally solve a mystery that haunted a father for over 20 years? When Susan Carter and her 10-year-old daughter Natasha disappeared without a trace, Rick Lafferty was left searching for answers in the dark. Decades passed with no answers until investigators uncovered chilling secrets hidden inside the very home Susan and Natasha once lived in. Inside the little girl's old bedroom, investigators made a chilling discovery, and all signs pointed to the very man Rick had suspected all along. But to truly understand what happened, we need to go back to where this heartbreaking story first began. Susan Carter and Rick Lafferty met in 1985 in the small town of Oceana, West Virginia. A few years later, on December 22, 1989, they welcomed their daughter Natasha, whom they lovingly called Alex. However, their love story was far from a fairy tale. Behind closed doors, Susan battled a complex mix of mental health challenges that slowly unraveled the foundation of their relationship.
Susan was paranoid, schizophrenic, manic depressive, bipolar type 1 was what her diagnosis was. And she would just absolutely go off the deep end about anything, just you'd be riding along and you'd be with one person and then 5 minutes later, there's someone you don't even recognize.
Despite multiple serious diagnoses, Susan consistently rejected treatment.
Took her to psychologists, psychiatrists. She was under a psychiatrist's care, but she wouldn't take her medication. She said it made her feel funny.
Without medication, her mood swings became more severe, often leading to impulsive decisions, emotional outbursts, and frequent clashes with Rick. On top of that, Susan's repeated affairs pushed things over the edge. Finally, Rick ended the relationship in 1995 when he discovered she was cheating on him with their landlord, Larry Webb. Shortly after, in 1998, Susan married Larry Webb and moved into his home on Kyle Lane in the Mabscott-Beckley area of Raleigh County. Despite her struggles with bipolar disorder, Susan was granted initial custody of Alex with Larry's influence. But Rick didn't give up. He fought for custody, and what followed was a long, bitter legal battle. During one tense mediation session, Susan made a chilling threat that Rick would never see his daughter again. Then, in February 2000, something unexpected happened. Susan didn't show up for the next court hearing, and Rick was granted custody. When Rick excitedly called Larry's house to share the news with Alex, Larry told him that Alex and Susan were not there, and he had no idea when they'd be back.
I called up there, and I asked Larry, where Alex was. And he said, well, her mother took her. I said, her mother took her, and he said, yeah, they left with a Mexican fellow named Jose. I said, are you kidding? What are you talking about? And I thought of it a while, and I waited about 4 or 5 days, and I called back, and I said, Larry, where in the world is Alex at? He said, I told you they left with this Mexican guy named Manuel.
The inconsistencies in Larry's responses raised major concerns for Rick.
When he was using different names of who she was supposed to have ran off with, I knew Alex wouldn't leave with anybody without calling me.
Haunted by Susan's threat during mediation, Rick couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. His gut told him that Alex was in danger, and she needed him. He quickly made posters with Alex's photo and information and put them up on telephone poles, store windows, and community bulletin boards, hoping someone might have seen her. However, the sheriff's office took them down. They believed Alex had willingly left with her mother and a man, just like Larry Webb claimed. Since she wasn't officially listed as missing, the posters were removed, with the sheriff's office unwilling to help further. Rick turned to Roger Snow, who was the chief of the Pineville Police Department at the time. Snow knew Alex well and often saw her playing around town. Rick explained everything to him, and Snow immediately entered Alex into the missing person database on the National Crime Information Center, the FBI's computer system for tracking missing people. Despite the official missing person posters listing August 8, 2000 as Alex's last known sighting, Rick's gut told him a different story. He firmly believed her disappearance happened months earlier, shortly after Susan's ugly threat during their custody battle. The timing was just too perfect to be a coincidence. On November 13, 2000, a felony warrant for kidnapping was issued for Susan Carter. Authorities suspected she might be using the alias Susan Gail Carter Webb. They also believed she could be changing her appearance to avoid being caught. The possibility of them having left West Virginia with an unknown man made the search even harder. Despite the initial momentum, the investigation soon hit a wall, dragging on for months with little progress. Each time Rick visited the police station, hoping for updates on his daughter's case, he was met with a different investigator assigned to the case. Because of the sensitive nature of the ongoing investigation, the officers revealed little. They offered no specific details or progress reports. The case was eventually transferred to West Virginia State Police. However, their investigation quickly hit a dead end because Larry, the only witness to Susan and Alex's disappearance, stubbornly stuck to his story. Even with repeated questioning and attempts to find inconsistencies, Larry's testimony never changed. He then divorced Susan in 2003, claiming she had abandoned him. With no new leads or breakthroughs, the case went cold, leaving Rick frustrated and disheartened. 20 years passed with no answers. Then, in 2020, the U.S. Marshals, who were looking into cases of missing and exploited children, found Alex and Susan's case interesting. They referred it to the FBI, who teamed up with the West Virginia State Police to take a fresh look. This renewed effort gave new hope that the mystery could finally be solved. In December 2021, the FBI held a press conference about the case.
In the last 21 years, there have been sightings and tips from all over the country, but none have led us to Alex and Susan. But I want Alex's family and the community to know that even though through time has gone on, we are focused on getting answers in this case and following every lead. We strongly believe that someone has information that can lead to the resolution of this case. Even if you think it's minuscule or may not be important, provide us that information, let us decide.
They also announced a $10,000 reward for any information that could help solve it. The reward was later increased to $20,000 as authorities continued to collect new evidence and renewed their efforts to solve the decades-old case. Rick, overwhelmed with emotion, spoke at the conference, pleading for his daughter's safe return.
If anybody knows anything, please come forward.
To help with the search, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children created age progression photos of Alex and Susan. These images offered a possible glimpse of how they might look now, after so many years. The investigators worked tirelessly, going through the old evidence and case files, hoping to find missed clues.
As of now, we are following numerous leads that have come in since the last press conference. A boatload of interviews have been done. Some forensics have been brought to bear on the case. We are definitely looking into exploring some search warrant avenues and bringing some legal process to bear as well. So we are just basically doing the basic on-the-ground investigative steps that needed to be done back then and were not. We're also leveraging the assets and capabilities of our partner agencies like the West Virginia State Police, the Raleigh County Sheriff's Department, and in particular the Beckley Police Department. Together I know we're going to get to the bottom of this case.
However, their efforts turned up nothing new, so they turned their attention to the last person who saw them alive, Larry Webb. Like Rick, the FBI suspected Larry might be involved in Alex and Susan's disappearance. They noticed problems in Larry's earlier story. Why did the names of the men they supposedly left with keep changing? If Larry truly didn't know where they were, why wasn't he more worried or actively helping to find them? Why hadn't he told the police they were missing right away? As suspicions around Larry Webb intensified, the FBI executed 2 search warrants on his property, one in 2022 and another in 2023. During the first search in 2022, investigators made a chilling discovery in the bedroom that once belonged to 10-year-old Alex Carter. A bullet was found lodged deep within the wall, and traces of blood were detected along the baseboard. The wall appeared to have been repaired, and someone had tried to conceal the bullet holes with wallpaper, as if attempting to erase all traces of violence. On August 30th, 2023, investigators returned for a second search, this time focusing on the basement. They removed a floor tile as part of their ongoing investigation, searching for any overlooked clues. All the evidence gathered from the scene was submitted for FBI lab forensic analysis. While awaiting the forensic results, Investigators decided to speak with 80-year-old Larry Webb on August 31, 2023, but due to his advancing age, he struggled to remember the exact day Alex and Susan disappeared.
I don't know. I swear I don't know. I don't have any idea what happened to her. I don't remember. I have dementia. I can't say exactly.
Still, he expressed deep affection for both of them and firmly maintained his innocence. He denied having any involvement in repairing the wall where blood and bullet holes were later discovered. Webb claimed he had been away on a trip when Susan and Alex went missing. Though his memory was hazy, he vaguely recalled reporting their disappearance to the police, taking a polygraph test, and meeting with investigators in Charleston, Beckley, and Cleveland. However, when the results of the forensic test came back, they shattered any remaining doubts. The blood found on the baseboard and on the bullet lodged in the wall was conclusively matched to 10-year-old Alex Carter. This chilling revelation transformed a decades-old missing persons case into a homicide based on the insurmountable amount of circumstantial evidence. Larry Webb was indicted on October 24, 2023 for the first-degree murder of Natasha Alex Carter. However, Webb's deteriorating health and advanced dementia complicated the legal proceedings. Unable to stand trial, he was admitted to Beckley ARH Hospital. He remained there under supervision until doctors considered him medically fit for custody and formal legal proceedings. In hopes of getting more details about the crime, authorities regularly visited Webb at the hospital for questioning. Their persistence paid off during one of these visits when, against all odds, Larry Webb confessed to the murder.
My investigator, Jeff Shoemate, and I go to visit him in the nursing home earlier this month. And Larry Webb in the nursing home gives a full confession to my investigator, Jeff Shoemate, with me present. It was a lengthy conversation over a 2-hour period, and he did indicate that he wanted to get this off his chest and that he had been carrying it too long. So he confessed to both murders. He confessed in very good detail about how those murders were committed and for what reasons they were committed.
In a shocking deathbed confession, as it was later called, Webb admitted to shooting and killing Susan and Alex Carter. The motive behind this horrific act was Webb's suspicion that Susan was stealing from him. After examining his financial records, Webb became increasingly convinced that Susan had been spending a significant portion of his money without his knowledge or consent. This suspicion led to a heated argument that quickly got out of control.
It was initially a domestic violence / financial argument between Larry Webb and Susan Carter. That was the initial reason for the acute incident that happened back in 2000. He did indicate that he killed Susan Carter first, and that he then knew he had to kill Alex because she was there and she was going to be a witness, although she was sleeping at the time.
After murdering Susan and Alex, Webb wrapped their bodies in bed linens and hid them in the basement of his home. For 2 agonizing days, their bodies remained there while Webb dug a shallow grave in his backyard. He then buried them together in this temporary grave, hoping to forever erase any trace of his horrible actions. This detailed, undeniable, and unconflicted confession served as the final piece of the puzzle for the police. Every part of his statement was carefully vetted and corroborated, cementing the case against him. Combined with the existing forensic evidence, Webb's confession formed an airtight case against him. After confessing, Webb was taken to his backyard in hope of locating the burial site. However, due to his old age and declining memory, he couldn't recall the exact spot where he had buried the bodies. This setback presented a significant challenge for the authorities, as Webb's property was huge and heavily wooded. While the authorities tried to figure out how to locate the bodies, the legal proceedings against Webb continued. Despite his declining health, authorities were eventually able to secure his arrest on April 12, 2024. Accompanied by law enforcement, Webb was transported by ambulance from Beckley ARH Hospital to Southern Regional Jail. Soon after, he was moved to Mount Olive Correctional Complex in Fayette County, a facility better equipped to manage his medical needs as he awaited trial. Meanwhile, driven by a commitment to bring Alex's remains back to her grieving father, law enforcement intensified their efforts to locate them. On April 9, 2024, a multi-agency team, including the West Virginia State Police and the FBI, began excavating the yard of Larry Webb's house on Kyle Lane, based on the information he had provided.
He said he had dug right beside the fence, and when he got finished digging the grave, that he leaned up against the fence with his shovel. Well, this is where we started.
With the help of local landscapers, Tammy and Grant Newhouse, authorities launched a tireless search of Larry Webb's property.
The bucket would have to go in very easy and deep and bring it up slowly, and you would dump it slowly because you did not want to miss any piece of a remain that may be here on the property.
To expedite the search, the Beckley Police Department and FBI enlisted the expertise of Canine Search and Rescue Services of West Virginia, Inc. Their certified canines played a critical role when guiding the search. Working alongside them, the crew from New Horizons Landscaping methodically combed the densely wooded property, moving row by row, combining specialized detection techniques with careful excavation. After 13 long days of coordinated effort, their persistence was finally rewarded. At approximately 4:30 p.m. on April 22nd, the remains of both Alex and Susan Carter were discovered near a swampy area at the edge of the property.
And then Jennifer yelled, "We got him. We found them." He texted me immediately and said, "We found them." And there wasn't a dry eye on this property.
The discovery marked a significant turning point in the case, providing much-needed truth and closure for the family and solidifying the evidence against Larry Webb. However, in a strange twist of fate, Larry Webb suffered a medical episode while in prison on the morning of April 22nd. The emergency began around 10:30 a.m., and he was later pronounced dead at Montgomery General Hospital. His death meant that he would never face the full legal consequences for his alleged crimes. For Rick Lafferty, Alex's father, the news brought a broad range of emotions.
Happiness, relief, just a feeling of melancholy, just a mixture of feelings. I mean, you're happy they found her, but you're sad of the circumstances of her not being alive.
After 24 long years, Rick could finally bring his daughter home, lay her to rest with dignity, and give her the proper goodbye he had been waiting for all these years. Following the discovery of Alex's remains, authorities gave Rick a necklace that had belonged to his daughter. It was a small gesture, but it meant a great deal. Holding the necklace was a powerful moment. It gave him something real to hold on to. A piece of his daughter, a reminder of the love he had carried for her all these years and always would. Through his relentless pursuit of justice, Rick sent a clear message to other parents facing similar heartbreak.
Never give up. I mean, I don't care who you have to write. I mean, they may think you're bugging them or whatever, but, just never give it up. Never. Because someone's going to listen. Eventually, someone will listen.
However, one lingering question remains. Why wasn't Larry Webb questioned earlier in the investigation? This gap in the initial inquiry raises serious concerns about how thoroughly the early efforts to find Susan and Alex Carter were handled. The FBI is now reportedly reviewing the case to understand what led to this oversight and whether any procedural or systemic failures may have delayed identifying Webb as a suspect.